Are you ready for the big story, you guys?
Let's do it, dude.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of a biggie. And Felix, I don't know how much you've been following, but I'm going to try and do a quick.
The problem
groundwork.
is half of the story is something that I completely have disengaged from politics.
Well, we're about to
half of the story is politics.
Semi-engage politics.
I know.
Are you guys?
I'm not. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm not well read on anything political that's happening in the world whatsoever.
So, let's start out with Hong Kong is currently in a state of unrest.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I am familiar with the history of Hong Kong, though.
Perfect. This is going to be great. For the past, I want to say 6 or so months, they have been staging massive protests, trying to liberate themselves from pretty much the arms of communist China, which is pretty much where the issue is currently stemming from. Because this past week, I'm really glad we're recording today, a week away from this.
Yeah.
Because everyone's been jumping on the bandwagon to talk about it.
It's good to have a couple days away
we have
for
a
perspective.
full, clear picture because Friday night. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So earlier in the week, there was a Grandmaster Championship of the game Hearthstone.
Hearthstone. You guys remember I was very big into Hearthstone, and then I decided to stop giving Blizzard money.
Blizzard card game, Felix. Very much like or for anyone listening who doesn't happen to know the story. Really great card game.
Dude, it's like, they always yell at the grandparents. It's a card game you play on your phone. They don't have. Wait, there's no real cards. They play it on their phones. Hearthstone. I don't know why that's the accent, but that's what it is. That's what Neo just did to you.
Is that who I am?
Yeah, yeah, you're the grandpa. Who's trying to understand how there's no physical cards here.
What?
What?
How do you play it?
How do you play it? Where are they? Where are the cards?
Where's the cowboy? All right, moving on. It's good though. It's real good. All right, so this Grandmaster who won this tournament, Blitzchung, we'll be referring to him as Blitzchung for the rest of the story here, has on his post-victory stream with these two casters.
He's being interviewed about the win.
Being interviewed about his
essentially,
win, right? And essentially, at this point, what we know is the casters at some point in the interview said, "Okay, say the 8 words you're going to say, and then we'll never speak of it again." This is something that was spoken by the casters. They ducked under the table. And then Blitzchung, with his gas mask and goggles that the protesters are wearing, hold up. He said, "Free Hong Kong, revolution of our age."
Okay, cool.
And then they cut the stream, and then that was the end of that stream.
Oh, because it got political.
Yeah, and not only that, they banned Blitzchung for a year, took away his prize money, and fired the casters.
Wow.
Essentially.
Blizzard did this, yeah. There is language in the agreement, the competitor agreement, that you can't do this kind of thing. You can't use their platform for
Section 6.1
for whatever they deem inappropriate for the contest, essentially.
Section 6.1 of
not saying that it's okay or fine for what they did.
Grandmaster competition rules is engaging in any act that Blizzard in Blizzard's sole discretion brings you into the public disrepute, offends a portion of a group or of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image, will result in removal of Grandmasters and reduction in the size of the player's prize to $0, in addition to other remedies that may be provided for the blah, blah, blah.
So the portion of the public that might have been offended by what he says is China, which is a gigantic market for Blizzard, and hence that's the problem.
I believe
it
is
money,
about
money was talking.
12%. As far as I've seen through all the numbers that are being thrown around the internet, right? But overall, the controversy is coming from the idea that Blizzard is silencing and kowtowing to please China as a market and ignoring the plight. This is where it gets political. They're essentially ignoring the plight of the people who are currently going through almost a humanitarian issue at this point. And this had been boiling over for this whole week, has been surrounding around Blizzard. What are they going to say about it? They pretty much haven't done anything.
These protests have affected so many other areas of the world too that interact with China for whatever purpose. Almost around the same day, I forget exactly what day this happened versus the other event I'm going to talk about, but the coach of the Raptors, the NBA team, the Raptors, tweeted out in support of Hong Kong. And China freaked out, dude.
Yeah.
The NBA is
happened too,
massive
yeah.
in China.
The South Park guys did it. They jumped up China's ass. They fucking
And,
jumped all over China.
Yeah.
They were like, fuck China in their episode.
Yeah. I apologize. The Rockets, not the Raptors. And according to my roommate, who is much more a sports and NBA fan than I am, he put it into some perspective. Apparently, if China were to not support the NBA, if they just pulled all their shit out, the NBA might fold because of how much money China injects into the NBA.
Yeah.
For contracts, for salaries, for all that stuff.
It's a global economy we're dealing with.
What's so fascinating about how all these American companies and organizations rely so much on the Chinese market, and to me, that's where a lot of the issue comes from, because essentially, American companies are at the whim of their Chinese market, and we as a American people have very different fundamental views than China when it comes to free speech, when it comes to how the government and the relationship between the government and its people is fundamentally different in every way. And a lot of this boycott Blizzard stuff and boycott NBA and whatever, like whatever is happening with the NBA, I haven't been following that, unfortunately. It's coming down to how we hold our own companies accountable when it comes to kowtowing to a pretty much an authoritarian regime.
Yeah, 100% they are.
I had a discussion with someone about, like, well, where was everyone caring about China 6 months ago when the protests started? I was like, well, they're going through their own pains right now. As Americans, we can observe and watch what's happening. I hope the best.
How are comments like that even helpful?
It's not helpful. And
the
honestly,
long run?
It really did bother me.
What, are you trying to make someone feel bad about the fact that they learned about something?
Oh, we're jumping on the bandwagon now?
Like, are you outwoking me? Like, what's the dick measuring contest about that? I never got that shit, dude.
And he was pretty much pointing out, like, how because it revolves around games now, gamers are caring. But to
God
be
forbid
fair,
someone cares about a thing and
the NBA
expresses it. Yeah.
is currently experiencing this as well.
Sure.
But with
I mean,
Blizzard,
as much as I hate to call attention to this, because I'm a huge fan of Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, they removed an app from their store in Hong Kong.
I saw that
protesters are using to organize. And in an internal letter, Tim Cook said to employees that they have had reports from Hong Kong police that it's being used in a way to target people specifically. So they did it for safety reasons. Yeah. But the market for Apple in China,
huge,
and the pipeline, the prototyping, the parts, the labor, the construction of the phones is all China.
Apple relies on the ability to construct devices.
Like, it's not at all a crazy like thought to think that someone from China said, "Yo, guys, I'm gonna need you to take this off, dude."
Yeah.
And like,
or
how
else.
could they say no? Because that's your entire production line.
Yeah.
It's fucked, dude.
It's real crazy.
Yeah.
And that is where I think most of the controversy is coming from, right?
Bless you.
Bless you.
I don't know what got up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little China up there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to relate it to the.
Anyway, China's population now, probably if you calculated it, is like the equivalent of what Russia's population was when World War I broke out.
Okay.
Like in terms of its size. And just to frame that, Russia could just dispose of men during World War I. They could just send people endlessly to the battlefield, and they barely put a dent in their population. And that's where China is at this point. Not speaking in terms of like war or conflict breaking out or something like that, but speaking in terms of like how much money the size of the population provides for all the entire planet, the gross national product of the entire planet.
Oh, you know what's really funny? A week before this event happened, South Park dropped an episode.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Banned in China. You did?
Yeah,
he did. Yeah.
I missed it.
They literally said fuck China or something like that.
We did the NBA transition real quick. He was like, "Oh yeah." He said, "I saw South Park."
Yeah, and they released it on VHS and like are sending it out to China. As many.
They're trying to get it to their Chinese fans.
They wrote a letter to China too. They had an open letter.
Yeah. And
I know this is probably
it's a good episode.
Slightly off topic.
Because
my computer's probably
the episode is actually about. Have you seen this episode?
I didn't watch it. No.
The episode's about how the movie industry / music industry designs or creatively bankrupts themselves in favor of the Chinese market. Like your Transformers movies, any product placements.
Oh, I see. Creatively
changes the writing.
Bankrupts their souls.
This brings me back to Blizzard because Blizzard with World of Warcraft has a very different version of World of Warcraft in China than it does in America. They remove all images of like skulls, death, and any other kind of blood or anything in their games for in the Chinese version of, let's say, World of Warcraft because of the rules of their government. Some other of the fallout this week, Blizzard internally was your computer just died.
It's fine.
Internally, Blizzard employees are showing protests. They covered a sign on their outside marquee that shows the message "Think globally and every voice matters."
Yeah, people are covering up with like printer paper.
And I'm trying to see what else here. And values that say "lead responsibly." Now, this all leads us up to Friday night, which is probably where we're gonna hear the end of it for now, because that night Blizzard released their statement. It's a very long statement.
You're not going to read it all,
I'm not going to read it all.
Okay, good.
But it essentially comes down to they didn't really apologize. They said they're behaving as they wanted to make clear that they weren't doing this because of China, and they
were doing it because of their investors.
For sure.
Who are Chinese.
Who are Chinese.
Well, and
Who
me.
are Chinese.
And me.
But it's not because of China.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
They pretty much said, we hired the shoutcasters to amplify the excitement and elevate the watchability of it, but them pulling the focus away from that was a violation of that thing that they wanted the shoutcasters to do. They reduced the sentencing of Blitzchung to 6 months, gave back his prize money,
Oh, that's nice.
and they just suspended the casters
standard
for 6 months
kindness
as well. I believe they're going to be blacklisted until then or whatever. So it doesn't really acknowledge in total how much. It didn't really address the idea that they censored this voice of activism, right? Mm-hmm. And in an American university this week as well, there was a Hearthstone tournament, and somebody held up a sign that said like "Free Hong Kong," and they were not banned or anything like that. The repercussions were very different for this American university competitor.
Where did the competitor that got banned originally? Where
China, I believe.
They were in China or they were in Hong Kong. Right.
I don't know.
I'm sure they're not going to do it. I mean,
it seems like the players in the university dropped out of that competition. Oh, because of the double standard. Makes sense. There was one other piece of the story. Blitzchung did make a statement after. Here, I'm just going to find it real quick.
Yeah,
statement after the Blizzard statement. Oh, I already had it up. It's funny. And he wrote. Where is it? I don't want to read your. He wrote. Here we go. On Twitter. Here we go.
Oh, right to the source.
Right to the source. About the suspension, Blizzard has changed their suspension for me to 6 months. Once again, I will appreciate for the but to be honest, I think 6 months is still quite a lot. But also being told that I can't continue to compete in the Hearthstone Pro Circuit, which they mean the Grandmaster tournament. Okay. However, I wish Blizzard can reconsider their penalty about the two casters involved. Okay, so he knew what repercussions he was going to be facing, but he still does not agree with their decision.
Sure.
It's about people from Blizzard had to explain me through a phone call, and I really appreciate. Okay. He has no idea if he wants to continue Hearthstone, and he won't be on the next season. Okay, so he's just pretty much just giving him an update. He's just using the time to relax. Sorry, this is the first time I've read this.
That's fine.
I didn't read.
He sounds.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. What's the word I'm looking for? He sounds intelligent, first of all, and he sounds like.
He's very much at peace with what the decision and the outcome.
Like he knew what was going to happen. He's like, this is the way it was, and I said what I said with conviction, and I don't regret it. And this is, of course, where we are.
Yeah, and the way the story ends is in about 3 weeks' time, BlizzCon is happening.
Yikes, dude.
And people are already planning massive protests.
At BlizzCon?
At BlizzCon.
I hope.
Last year.
I hope, dude.
The year anniversary.
They're regretting that decision,
of the
then,
do
aren't
you
they?
have phones controversy.
Oh my
Which,
god, dude. We remember how we fucking,
Wait, do you have phones? Was then?
Last
Oh
year.
yeah, because
remember
of
we
Diablo.
fucking lost our shit and stirred ourselves into the biggest gamer tizzy about the phone shit, and now it's like the stuff this year
The tizzy
is so.
of the phone stuff was about them making a mobile version of
Oh, I remember.
Diablo
I totally remember. Yeah, I know exactly.
for the Chinese market because they play mobile games and like I'm not just trying to like you look at
just-
a marketing standpoint.
Yeah,
right?
I'm more commenting on just the level of controversy has been so
This is a real
inflated
problem.
this year.
I think this
Yeah.
is definitely like this involves like human lives.
Sure, of course it does.
Or an American company trying to find value over their morals or their pockets, almost, right?
Which they won't. I mean, that's going to be a
Clearly
they're not
not.
going to make that decision. It's going to be money. Do you guys want to hear the South Park letter?
Do it.
Oh yeah,
China?
yeah, yeah.
Do it.
Official apology to China from Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. She doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune into our 300th episode this Wednesday at 10. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn's sorghum harvest be bountiful. We good now, China?
That was a good episode of South Park.
I got to check it out. I haven't watched it.
It's called Banned in China.
Yeah.
Free. They made it free, available to everybody.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hong Kong has such a like a long-running being occupied history. Like the crazy thing is, the day Pearl Harbor was attacked,
Yeah.
the Imperial Japanese Army invaded and occupied Hong Kong all throughout World War II. It wasn't until 1945 that the British regained control.
Yeah.
At the time, but they've been pretty much, that peninsula has been pretty much occupied by the British for whatever amount of time. So there's this giant cultural divide between this very small, very heavily packed city and the rest of mainland China. Like
see
a
why they're
complete,
so fed up.
Everybody there speaks English.
Yeah.
Everybody on that island for the most part. It's crazy.
That's so crazy.
It would be like, Manhattan Island, right? Being completely non-English speaking, and like people there speaking German,
But they're like a part of us.
or it would be Dutch, like New Amsterdam.
Would you?
Because that was originally a Dutch.
Could you compare it to
island.
Puerto Rico? Not like size wise, but like
No, because
the way we
no.
run,
My comparison
the way
was
America has Puerto Rico.
No, my comparison was to take a large peninsula, essentially. Manhattan Island is a peninsula.
Yeah, yeah.
So imagine the Dutch originally founded that, never relinquished it to English-speaking people, and it stayed Dutch till now,
God, I hate the Dutch.
right?
No, I'm kidding.
And everyone there spoke that language instead of
The native language.
English. And, and those people wanted freedom from the English-speaking people around them.
That is what they're currently experiencing.
Well, yeah, it's a little different, but like almost the same.
Have you seen like
analogous.
shots of the protests?
I have.
I've been pretty much keeping up with it as much as I can. There's a lot of the pictures that come out are crazy, like the way they have mobilized so many people to those streets, and that the military is like literally trying to keep it contained in its various ways. It's just out of control. It's crazy.
The power of China, dude. And they
Well, I have distinct memories from my childhood of seeing the Tiananmen.
Tiananmen.
Yeah,
Tiananmen Square,
I struggle
yeah.
with that word. Squared protests when I was a kid, watching that on TV. Because it was right at the beginning of the 24-hour news cycle.
fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
Well, any more thoughts on the Blizzard thing, guys?
Oh no.
There have been hilarious
Memes.
Bungie leaving Activision Blizzard memes.
Yeah, like they got out. Yeah.
There's the meme picture of the girl, like the
May.
little girl looking back towards the camera while there's like a car accident on fire in the background
yeah.
out of focus. And there's also a meme of Captain Jack Sparrow from the very first movie where he takes the step off of like the crow's nest of his ship as the ship is sinking, and he steps right onto the dock.
As Bungie.
He's Bungie,
Yeah.
and then the ship is Activision Blizzard going under the water. He just goes right onto the dock.
Right on the dock. Yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, protesters
good.
took over. Like speaking of memes, protesters took over Mei, the character from Overwatch.
Oh.
She is a Chinese character.
Yeah.
And they co-opted her to use her as a free Hong Kong figure. So they're making her the mascot of the free Hong Kong movement.
Oh, wow.
So like people are like, yeah, like they're making posters that say free Hong Kong, and they're putting her in gas masks and saying,
wow.
yeah, liberating fan art too. Like,
That's pretty
That's
cool.
really cool.
the covering of the eye. She's covering her eye in this photo for audio listeners. Someone during the protests got shot in the eye, essentially lost their eye during a protest,
Oh, wow.
and that was a reported on thing. So yeah, they're doing it, man. They're freaking doing it, and I'm fully behind it. I'm very.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Not even from a gaming perspective, but
We're
just like
definitely
from
gonna. I have a feeling we're gonna see some crazy news
Yeah.
at BlizzCon.
Well, yes, for that. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this actually plays out. The actual events, the actual protests in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's not something that we'll probably be we're talking about in the future, unless Blizzard is still involved in this or any other game companies involved. Because, oh god, there's so much to this story. I'm so sorry. 40% of Tencent is a massive company in China.
Yep.
Massive company. They own 40% of Epic Games. They own pretty much 100% of Riot Games, the makers of League of Legends.
They actually did. Bungie has Tencent money too.
They do.
For some unknown project.
Tencent money. Tencent for a you just said it. Never mind. I was about to just repeat what you just said. Tim Sweeney, the head of Epic, came out and said, "We don't let China dictate what our company says. So anyone can say whatever they want to say, and they will not be, they won't be punished for speaking out." It is nuts though. All these game companies are pretty much Tencent has a hand in all these companies.
And all of them, dude.